request to unmute. Okay. I already sent request signed. They have to do it on their end. Okay.
Everybody's on Jamie just for. There we go. Is this recording also?
Yeah.
So this volume needs to be on.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
That helps.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Okay, so we go back to this slide. If you look at the slide before this. There's two trees there, now there's just one.
Okay.
So that front tree was removed to make more vision.
The one closest to the sidewalk.
Correct.
Thank you. Let's keep it down.
Okay, so can you say your name, whether you were sworn in?
Jack Reynolds, Smith and Hale, 37 West Broad Street, and I was sworn in.
Phil Bowen, 1389 Chrisfield Drive, and I have been sworn in as well.
Anything to add?
I would like to think that we had some confusion the last time we were before the board, and we had discussions with the traffic department about how to clarify the issue that came up when Mr. Blackschmidt brought up that section of the code. And as a result, the tree was removed to increase the visibility from the driveway. So now we have greater visibility so that we have complied with that section of the code. And again, staff is comfortable with recommending approval for this case. So we would be happy to answer any questions, but as you saw from the page that I handed out, the Bowens don't have a rear yard. This is their rear yard. So again, we appreciated your all's patience to get this material back in front of you. Again, this is something that fence has been in that configuration originally in 1997. It was rebuilt in 2013, and this is the first time that we've been cited by code. So we would simply like to legitimatize the existing fence.
Also want to point out there are several letters from
19
letters from neighbors in support.
and support.
In your guidance.
Right.
Do we have anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Please come forward.
I'm tired of people talking around.
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm Phyllis Jansen, and I'm the house on the side that I cut the tree down, so I'm on Vassalboro.
Okay.
So I can see. We took the pictures to show you what I can see. We also took a picture showing what I can't see if there is an SUV parked beside me, which is perfectly legal. Then I can see absolutely nothing. But with the fence, I can see down 10 things, which I think each brick is 3 feet, so I can see 30 feet. And I know the man from the city said, well, I could park it on the other side, which is true, but then I can't see that way either. So I don't understand how a fence that is shorter than an SUV and much farther away can be illegal if I can park a 7-foot tall pickup truck clear down to the sidewalk beside me where I can see nothing. I'm totally confused.
Okay.
Are you speaking for or against the?
I want the fence to stay
Okay.
because I've never had a problem with it in the 29 years it's been there.
Yeah, we don't have a say over what's parked in your driveway.
Well, no, I understand that, but it's just, I can see beautifully. Believe me, I don't want to hit anybody.
Right,
Jeez,
right.
legally or illegally, but so I can see 30 feet and I think I can see fine. Especially since they're coming up a hill, which means everybody goes slower. At least I do, maybe you don't, but I do. So I want the fence to stay. I truly have not had a problem with it.
Okay, okay, thank you. Is anybody else? Okay, do you have any other questions for the applicant?
Okay, I'll go through the Duncan factors. I will say that this is a vision clearance case and I'm relying heavily on the Division of Traffic Management and their email and their statements about vision clearance and not necessarily the fence is existing. Just that we're clear about that on the record. I do think that the property could yield a reasonable return without this fence. I do acknowledge that, as you say, this is their backyard. And so although this variance would be deemed substantial, I think in light of the positioning of the lots and the house. And like I said, the Division of Traffic Management statement about the safety. I think the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement is observed. I think that the owner's predicament was obviated through the cutting of the shrub, and so we appreciate that. I think that I think you indicated the purchaser, the owner purchased this property, with the fence there. This is a fencing,
Yeah.
I guess to say. I don't think this is going to adversely affect the delivery of government services and the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered. For those reasons, I think we should grant the variance in accordance with the Duncan factors. Are we ready for the question?
I'll call the question.
Mr. Been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
I concur with the assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Mr. Weatherly,
I concur as well and vote yes.
Sheriff Paul Bailey.
Yes, variance granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, do you want to remind the audience that with only 3 board members present,
Yes.
unanimous vote would be required?
So, yeah, so usually we have 5 people here and you only need a 3 votes. And you get 3 yes votes. We only have 3 people here that we have to get a yes vote from each one of us. If during the course of your presentation tonight, you feel like you've heard comments from any one of us that may be giving you a preliminary feel that we're going to vote no. When you have a no vote from this board, in order to come back, you have to present substantially different facts. And so if you're not prepared to do that, then maybe you don't want us to have the no vote on the record. And so then you can ask for us to postpone it until we have a larger panel and you can maybe sway 3 out of 5 instead of 3 out of 3. So just putting that out there for anybody. It's kind of strategic on your part to think through how things are progressing.
And with that, Joshua, should we give them the option to just not even present? Or if they present, does that become a challenge for us to have heard the case and then they've made the decision?
You could go either way. So someone who wants to could ask for a postponement before the case is heard. If your case is heard, we would just simply keep the record open until the next BZA meeting. I will say we had 4 members at the last meeting, so it's also not a guarantee that there will be 5 members at the next month's meeting for your consideration.
True. Okay, case number 2, 1106 Cole Street.
Eleven oh six Cole Street is located at the northeast corner of Cole Street and Oakwood Avenue. Is on R3 residential and part of the Near East Area Commission. The site is undeveloped. Surrounding uses are primarily single and multi-unit residential dwellings with Interstate 70 to the south. The applicant proposes to construct a 3-story single unit dwelling with a 1-car garage. Variances are being requested to reduce the minimum number of required parking spaces from 2 to 1, to reduce the vision clearance triangle on the southwest corner from 10 feet by 10 feet to 6 feet by 5 inches by 6 feet by 5 inches, to reduce the lot width from 50 feet to 40 feet, to reduce the lot area from 5,000 square feet to 1,300 square feet, to increase the maximum allowable lot coverage from 50% to 65%, to reduce the required building line from 10 feet to 1 feet, 1 foot 3 inches to reduce the maximum side yard from 8 feet, 5 inches to 5 feet, 8 inches. To reduce the minimum side yard setback from 5 feet to 10 inches to 4 feet on the west side, and from 5 feet to 10 inches, 5 feet, 10 inches to 5 feet, 8 inches on the east side, and to reduce the rear yard from 25% to 10%. Planning staff note the revised site plan shows a garage access to the rear oriented toward Grover Alley, consistent with the Near East area plan design guidelines, which staff can support. All comments from the Division of Traffic Management have been resolved, and the Near East Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 11-1. Staff would recommend approval of the requested variance as they are typical for infill development on constrained lots in older urban neighborhoods and in line with the Near East Area Plan Design Guidelines. Check.
Okay, can you state your name when you're sworn in?
My name is Kelton Waller of KDW Design Build, and yes, I have been sworn in.
And you are,
I am coming as representative for the applicant, Ojanini Bako.
but I have a different architect list here.
That's Curtis.
Yes, I was not the architect of the design, but I am representing the applicant this evening.
Do we have you on record that you're allowed to do that?
I am not certain of everything the applicant has put on the record.
I don't have a document in here that gives you authority to act on the applicant's behalf. So I'm missing it. Staff? Not missing it. So our rules only allow the applicant or the architect or attorney to speak on behalf of the applicant in these areas, unless we have written permission that you are standing as agent for the applicant.
I see.
And we don't have that from the applicant.
They could give you a POA and you can be your representative.
Mhm.
Sorry, it sounds like you didn't know that ahead of time.
Yeah, I did not. The applicant asked me to be here. I've represented them on other projects, but yeah, apparently that paperwork has not been submitted for this particular application.
So we'll have to, I don't know if the applicant is available to come, because we'll probably just put this at the back of the pile and call it back after we go through everything else, if the applicant can make it down here.
Okay, I will see if that can happen.
Okay, and if not, then we can come back to it, then we'll just have to postpone it, table it for the next time we can get back on the agenda.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's 2740 Airport Drive.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
2740 Airport Drive is located on the west side of Airport Drive, approximately 330 feet south of Damone Drive. It's located in the Northeast Area Commission in Zone M2 Manufacturing. The 4.38 acre site is developed with a multi-tenant office building and associated parking. Surround uses include similar multi-tenant office buildings with undeveloped parcels to the west and hotels further to the east. The applicant proposes to conform previously installed parking spaces, as well as to establish two existing storage containers and a proposed 45 by 24 foot storage shed, and is requesting a variance to reduce the storage setback from 25 feet to 10 feet, to reduce the minimum width of an aisle from 20 feet to 0 feet, and to allow maneuvering across property line and to provide no maneuvering area. The applicant is responding to a code violation order issued on February 7th, 2024. The Port Columbus Area Development Partnership Joint Economic Development Strategy notes that loading docks and service areas are recommended to not be visible from major arterials preferred or are screened to their full height with earth mounting vegetation or decorative fencings and walls. As such, planning continues to request the applicant relocate or screen storage units to where they are not visible from Airport Drive. The vision and traffic management generally does not have an issue with maneuvering in aisle variances when the necessary space is physically provided, but a variance is needed due to the location of a property line. The applicant was also informed that a right-of-way dedication of 50 feet from the center line of Airport Drive will be required. The Northeast Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 6-0. And staff can recommend approval of the aisle maneuvering variances since they are existing conditions. However, staff recommends disapproval of the request to reduce the storage setbacks since the storage containers are unscreened and visible from the public right of way. Staff could be in support of this request if the storage containers were screened from the public right of way by earth mounting, vegetation, or decorative fences and walls. Going through the Duncan standards, beneficial use without a variance. Yes, this property would yield a reasonable return without the setback variance requested for the storage containers. The applicant could relocate the storage containers to meet the required setback or remove the storage containers. Is it substantial? No, the requested variance is not substantial. Essential character of the neighborhood altered? No, the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered. Storage containers are located in a manner that they will have minimal impact on adjoining properties. Government services affected? No, the setback variance will not adversely affect delivery of governmental services. The storage containers are located at the rear of the building in a part of the parking lot that is rarely utilized. Knowledge of the zoning restriction unknown. Staff cannot determine whether that was aware of this limitation. Predicament feasibility without variance. Yes, the storage containers could be moved to a location that meets the storage setback requirements, or the containers could be removed. Spirit intent / substantial justice. No, the intent of this zoning requirement is to ensure adequate separation between storage areas and other properties. And good to see the mouse. Just so you guys are aware, the aisle and maneuvering variance is related to parking spaces that were installed without approval in this location. There is a property line right here, so essentially there is no maneuvering and aisle per the site plan, but in reality, there is plenty of room for vehicles to cross the property line there onto a property that is also owned by the applicant.
So, go ahead.
Well, what happens when the properties are not owned by these?
Yeah. We have to put something in there. We don't want them to combine.
I'm sorry, Mike, I need you to use your microphone.
Apologize. We don't necessarily want them to be required to combine parcels, but to Eleanor's point, if that property is sold, there needs to be some cross-access agreement that would have to be put in place so that the next owner would be able to abide by the same agreement that you're making with yourself, essentially.
Yeah, so can you say your name when you're sworn in?
My name is Raymond Wayne, and I'm representing the owner of the building. I tried to catch what you were reading, but I do not necessarily understand everything. So if I misunderstood, please help me to clarify a little bit. For that property line in question we're talking about, the whole thing was built in 1996. Never changed ever since. We purchased this property in 2018, so that's 7 years ago. And down the history, we checked all the history, there's never been any question about this. So this lot has always been owned by under one owner, same ownership. When they change hands, we change together. So nobody knew. So it took me very long time to understand what was in question because those physically are together. And the build was from 1996, which was accepted, approved by city. There's no alteration after that. So I don't know what to do other than say that I really ask the committee to approve the current condition of status quo. Have been like that for forever.
And that's the aisle and the maneuvering you're talking about.
I'm maneuvering, yes, yes.
So let's set that issue aside, 'cause I think that's valid.
Mhm.
The other issue is before.
The
us
other
is the
issue.
Storage.
Yeah, the other issue is we put 2 shipping container in the corner as so indicated. If you can enlarge, yeah. If you can see, this is at the very end and very corner that we can find in the property. And 3 side back into wood, only 1 side facing other parking, okay? We did not know until we were being told that the setback from the property line has to be 25 each direction. Actually, current is 15. It's not 10, it's 15. So we apply for the setback to be reduced from 25 to 15 for a couple of reasons. I think some reasons that you just help me read out. It does not affect anybody. And if I change the location, it's the container with all the maintenance stuff inside can be 20, 30 tons each. It's almost impossible to move, other than to get rid of it. And again, it does not affect anybody. And back to the wood. So we apply to reduce the setback from 25 to 15. Currently 15. When we positioned that, we were not aware there were requirements. However, we were kind of conscious that we should not be too close to the property line. That's why we leave 15 on each direction. This was presented to the local so-called community or regional or district board, right? Commission.
Yeah.
This was being held twice with that commission. I don't live here, so I have to fly in to present this, which they give us recommended approval. So again, we are asking for the committee or this committee to approve this existing setback, which does not affect anybody. In the meantime, we also.
I want to make sure that you understand what the chairperson described in the beginning, that in order for you to have an approval tonight, all 3 of us have to approve. And your arguments are not very persuasive for me in what you're describing right now. So I want to give you the opportunity to understand that you can request a postponement of this case. I'm happy to continue listening, but some of the things that you're saying don't align with testimony from city staff. So I just want you to understand that.
Okay. One of the problem I have is when he read, I didn't follow everything. So I try to understand what had been read.
Can you read he can provide you in writing.
So, sir, what is the specific problem that you felt I'm contradicting or?
You said you bought the property in what year?
2018.
And you said it was built in 1996.
Yes.
And you're saying nothing changed between 1996 and today. And what they're telling me, if I'm not mistaken, is that your parking spaces have changed. They may not have changed on your watch, but they changed at some point. And they're not the same as they were when it was originally approved. So either you don't understand that or you're just mistaken.
Sorry, may I clarify this?
Absolutely.
When I was talking about nothing changed, I was talking about the other item. Can you help me to show which item is that? I'm not talking about the.
You're talking about the parking.
The parking, yes.
Yes, I understand that. And he's saying that it has changed.
That has changed.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
This site plan of record that he submitted with that he drew in the shipping containers does not show these parking spaces. It shows the little curb in cut. But that is that there are no marked parking spaces here, and we went over previously approved plans from when this was constructed that showed not even a curb line there. That was all, this was all tree lawn grass, this entire length. And he was informed that these could either be removed and replaced with the grass, or these variances could be applied for to bring it into compliance. So he wished to add these as part of the application, and we did.
Thank you. So again, what you're saying is nothing has changed, but it sounds like you're acknowledging that something's changed and you want permission to change it. So I need to be clear. Something has changed. Are you acknowledging that?
Sorry, again, I'm still confused. When I see nothing changed, are we talking about the parking situation? How do you refer that item?
Parking spaces.
Parking spaces. The construction of, there's a little, what do you call it? Grain island. Is that, I don't know how to call it. Grain island. It was there from the construction. The construction of that grain island was from very beginning when the whole campus was built.
Then it wasn't constructed as the plans were approved.
I think so.
That was put in illegally.
Again, city approved that already, accepted that. But anyway.
So all we can go on, sir, is what is documented on the plan. So while it may have been built away on your property, and to you that hasn't changed, if it doesn't match what's on this file, then it's not legal.
What I want to say, okay, I thank you for reminding, okay? But
let me just also add to that. What we were describing is today you own 2 parcels. Are there 2 parcels that we're talking about?
3 parcels, all 3 parcels.
But these 2 that are in question are contiguous, they're attached. So the way you exist with them is as one owner. There's nothing to stop you from tomorrow selling the contiguous parcel to somebody else. And now that person owns that land and may not wish to allow you, if we were to approve this variance as you requested it, with separate parcels, if you sold that parcel, the new owner may say you cannot cross our land for maneuverability. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand.
And that's a challenge for us as we look at it, because any change or adjustment we make today follows the land. So what we're saying is it's not impossible to happen, but we need some mechanism in place, whether it's a cross-maintenance access agreement that you grant from yourself to yourself, perhaps, I don't know. But it needs to be addressed in that way so that the next owner, if it is somebody different, is bound by those same requirements.
Okay, again, I appreciate your reminder, and you give me an early warning that it could go heading that direction. What I want to say is it was built like that, which was accepted by city from very beginning for 30 years.
I don't think we can make that, I don't think we can agree to that.
Okay. I'm not, well, my language ability is a little bit beyond what I can try to describe.
I'm understanding what you're trying to say.
Okay.
I'm just trying to also say that how it was built is not the gold standard. That's not that's not what we base everything on. It's what was the plan for it to be built.
For me, one of the topic, honestly, is I will go to my title insurance, and claim about it because I bought.
I don't know, this is a title issue.
So it was, I bought like that. I didn't change. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't change.
Oh, you're saying you did not build.
Yes, no, I
never
never
build projects.
No.
You bought it and it was already built.
It was like that.
We bought it
So
in
do you
2017.
cannot tell.
We understand that you bought it, but what you're saying is that it hasn't changed and it's different than what the original person, whoever originally applied for plans to build this, that they're different. What was performed is different than what was approved. So although you're saying it's been that way, it may have been, but it was never done properly the first time, is what I can assume, or we can assume from this conversation. And we're not saying that what you want is not impossible. It could be, but when you say nothing has changed, that triggers me to either you don't understand or you're missing something.
I'm struggling with what I said about nothing changed. I do not quite understand.
You saying that you always had parking spaces there. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? On the plan, there's no parking spaces there.
So that's why,
So that is-
that's why I'm asking for variance. That's why I'm applying for variance today. Is that correct?
That is
But
correct.
if I have everything, I don't need to sit here, right? I sit here
No.
because I find this trouble, which was indicated by the city. I still don't understand because it was built like that, I bought like that. And if you go there, you cannot tell the difference.
Okay.
And
So-
it is reasonable to have a parking over
Okay,
there.
so the question is, at this point, are you willing to give a cross-access easement
Of course,
from one property
Of
to
course.
the other?
of course,
Okay.
Absolutely. It's called easement or whatever.
Yes.
As you said, even agreement between this parcel to this parcel and documented, it is granted. Of course, I can do that.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
can put that in as a condition.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so let's move to the storage.
I'm
Oh, sorry.
kind of not there either. You're saying that it doesn't bother anybody, it doesn't face anybody. Code enforcement came out and based on the accord that exists with the airport authority, is that what I heard? There was a statement from them, or there's something that indicates the visibility from arterial street.
That's the storage.
Right.
That's what we're moving to.
We're
And I'm saying, I can't abide by a variance for that.
But we haven't.
Real quick, I would like to say that the parking, the aisle and maneuvering were identified during staff review. Those were not part of the code violation. The commercial behaviors were.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of pointing out. That's what I'm trying to point out. I'm not leaning towards an approval to allow you to keep that up there. The city has provided you with opportunity or an option to leave it there if you do those things.
Yes.
And in those cases, you could become compliant without a variance. That would be okay with me, but for me to say, I'm not willing to say at this point, yes, you can keep the storage containers there because you think they're at a great distance. They're not at enough of a distance.
Again,
Do you understand the
I understand.
remedy that the city described?
I think I understand. City asked me to put a fence, either with dirt or with fence, but anything but chain link fence, which I know I am studying. I made an order already. I spent already on this topic for just container to fence container. From beginning, I spent already $10,000.
Understood.
A lot of my time, I said, if I need to pay $50,000 to get rid of it, I will pay for it.
So it sounds like you're willing,
What do I need to do? Huh?
it sounds like you're willing to accept the remedy that they're
Oh, yes,
proposing.
yes.
So that means you don't need a variance for that.
No, he still needs a
I still
variance.
need variance for that.
You still need a variance if it's out of sight?
Yes, because it's the distance.
Depends on where it's split. If it's split that meets, storage setbacks,
It's not gonna be the storage setback.
So we just try to visually make it. Okay.
Yeah.
so Lightning's issue with it is that it's visible from the right of way.
Got it.
And multiple options were given to either remove the storage containers completely, to relocate them to meet the setback, or to screen them by way of vegetation, an earthen mound, or decorative fence and wall.
And if we order, if things move forward and we put that in the order as a condition, he would need to do those in order to continue to be compliant.
Correct.
Assuming that we've approved the variance for the distance.
Mhm.
That I can do as long as you're on board with it. I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to give you a fair warning because the direction you were going, was not in alignment with agreement, so thank you.
If you allow me that, I think some of my expression was not accurate.
Okay.
But I agree already. Actually, I made order already. It cost me, I will not mention, it cost me a lot of money for the fence. I just learned today, you need to prove the fence also. Right?
Yes, you started to install the fence without approval and
I thought you want the fence to be sold right away, so.
no, it can be shown on the plans and it would have to
Okay.
approval from planning and you still have to go through final site compliance.
I
plan
will,
review.
I will, so in this case, I will apply for approval. Subject to, I will have the fence installed correctly. Would that be okay? I will do that.
Okay, so we have two conditions that we're adding to your variance request. The first is that you will grant cross-access easement between the two properties for the maneuvering and the parking.
Mm-hmm.
The second condition is that the storage containers will be screened from the public right of way by an approved decorative fence.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so you agree to both of those
Yes,
things?
yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Going to the Dunkin' factors. The property in question would yield a reasonable return without variances. The variance is, I think the variance is substantial. Just pretty on that. I don't think the central character of the neighborhood would be altered. This is an M2 manufacturing district, which these storage containers are allowed. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. The property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. That's a little tricky. The owner probably should have known, because they could have searched public records and found the plan, but the testimony here tonight is that they did not know. The property owner's predicament could be obviated through some method of invariance. They are going to implement the two conditions that would assist with the variance. And therefore, I think the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variances. Are we ready for the question?
I'll call the question with the conditions.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Waldewing,
Yeah, so we're going to agree with staff on the number one Duncan factor that probably would yield. And I agree with the chair on the rest of the Duncan factors. And so I vote yes for the condition.
Mr. Jones,
I concur with the chair's assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Paul Bailey.
Yes, the variances are granted with the two conditions.
thank you.
Thank you.
May I see one more word?
No.
Okay. I'm good already. Thank you.
2729.
Thank you.
Strawberry Boulevard.
I borrow the paper, I'll write down, okay?
Well, no, we need the paper for the next.
No, I need to have the number. I don't have the number.
His case.
Okay, I'll find the
That's
number.
okay.
We'll put it down for you.
I'll find
It's okay?
25-021. 25-021.
25-021. Okay.
Almost.
27 and 29 Salisbury Boulevard.
Thank you.
Located on the south side of Salisbury Boulevard, approximately 623 feet east of Sawmill Road. Is on C4 commercial and part of the Far Northwest Coalition. The site is developed with a multi-unit office complex, surrounding uses of primarily office buildings and an automotive dealership to the west. The applicant was cited for operating a mobile food vending unit without zoning clearance. A special permit is being requested to allow a portable building used as a food truck to remain on site overnight.
Planning has no comment on the request as the Northwest Area Plan does not address special permits. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment, and the Far Northwest Coalition recommends approval with a vote of 5-0. While the Northwest Plan does not specifically address special permits for portable buildings, staff can recommend approval of the requested special permit. The proposed use of the portable building as a food truck aligns with the existing commercial activity at the site and will not detract from the character of the surrounding area. Jack?
Can you state your name and whether you're sworn in?
Oh, my name is Maria Sosa and I'm listening.
Well, Maria, who are you in connection to the property owner, applicant?
Oh, he is my husband and he's here with me, but he doesn't speak English, so I have to.
Can you come up to the table with you so that he can acknowledge that you say that you are? Can you say his name?
Can he, do you want him?
Yes, you can say the name.
Okay, Nez Fernando Osorio.
And you were sworn in. You were sworn in
Yes.
earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And Fernando, just to keep the record clean, your wife is speaking on your behalf, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so food truck, how long are you requesting the special permit?
I haven't thought of a time, but at least 5 years.
It's
And I don't, but we need to, we really do need to, and I'm sorry.
Live in affordable buildings,
Not for food trucks.
but we never did.
I mean,
I,
we've limited portable buildings for office trailers that will eventually be built into full offices or, you know, construction yards, whatever. But for food trucks, I don't think we've ever limited. They've been indefinite.
we have not on food trucks, but we have for special permits in general. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like we need to have some cohesiveness with how we're looking at these, so we're consistent, I think. And, as long as it doesn't become overly burdensome, so let's say we say 5 years. Do they have to apply again, or can they just apply for an extension or just request an extension?
They can keep coming back to the board to ask for extensions.
Is there a cost to them for that, or?
Not if they do it before the 5 years expires.
Okay, so it's not overly burdensome for them to do that. It allows us to kind of keep a set of eyeballs in the city, to keep a set of eyeballs to see, not you all, but code enforcement to see has something moved, is it the same person, et cetera. I just feel like for checks and balances, 5 years is reasonable. We want you to be successful.
Well, that brings up another issue. It doesn't matter if it's the same person or if it's the same truck.
I got it, because it's the same site, but the site plan would still prevail, right?
Sure. Yes.
How it's situated there. And so somebody else wouldn't have the benefit maybe of understanding what that was as a new owner of a new truck. So it just gives checks and balances, I think. And since it's not overly burdensome for them to come back in advance of the expiration and request an extension, and we know that they're happy players and everything's great, we can approve, or whoever's here in the space at that time could approve that. So I agree.
Okay.
Okay, 5 years
Yeah.
is your request? Okay. Is there? So. It's okay that we're, just a clarification. The property owner is not requesting this, but yet this building, this portable building is on there.
They receive the benefit of the applicant's
Okay.
application fee and
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Back to the special permit. Okay, I don't think that there's substantial detriment to the public good. This seems alignment with the commercial activity happening on the site. There is compatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. The general purpose and intent of the underlying zoning district is upheld. There is no significant incompatibility with general character neighborhood. No, there's no kind of non-conforming use. I think we have looked at everything. Okay, 5 years and says that the city can revoke any special permit whose condition has been violated after notice and opportunity to conform has been given. So there's no really conforming, except that they're parking it on this site overnight. Wait, call the question? Oh, sorry.
Sure. So we would just be looking at the factors in section A,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, thank you. Okay. I read
which
it.
you recited.
Yes, okay. Okay. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question with the time period as outlined.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
I agree with the chair's assessment for approving a special permit and vote yes.
Mr. Wellesley?
I concur and vote yes.
Chair Pompey?
Yes, your special permit's granted. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 6285 Cleveland Avenue.
Okay, 6285 Cleveland Avenue is located on the west side of Cleveland Avenue, approximately 40 feet north of Community Park Drive. Site is zoned within the new CAC Community Activity Center District, and is within the jurisdiction of the Northland Community Council. The site is currently developed within an eating and drinking establishment. Surrounding uses include a big box retail store and accessory parking lot to the north and west, an eating and drinking establishment to the south, and an office building to the east. The applicant proposes to raise the eating and drinking establishment and develop a site with a car wash. Variances are being requested to not provide a pedestrian entrance on the Cleveland Avenue side of the building, to increase the maximum permitted building setback from 25 feet to 80 feet, reduce the total length of the building facade from 60% along Cleveland Avenue to 19%, reduce the minimum amount of transparency for a non-residential building from 60% to 19%. Allow car wash stacking and 2 parking spaces and drive aisle maneuvering to be located between the principal building and Cleveland Avenue. And finally, to allow a dumpster to be located, to allow truck maneuvering off-site but within large parking lot for servicing a dumpster box, the southwest corner of the site. The planning division notes that the revised site plan includes additional landscape screening, street trees, and a sidewalk connection along Cleveland Avenue frontage. This is consistent with the Northland 1 area plan design guidelines. Staff encouraged the applicant to explore opportunities for additional consistency with the CAC zoning district guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management comments have been addressed, and the Northland Community Council recommends approval. I believe the representative is here. City staff is recommending disapproval. Staff is recommending disapproval based on the following Duncan standards. Whether, number one, whether it be a beneficial use without the variance? The answer is yes. The site itself is 0.89 acres, with the Cleveland Avenue frontage being 155 feet long, which could easily accommodate a code-compliant building location and design. Is the variance substantial? Increasing the maximum building setback from 25 feet to 80 feet is substantial. The intent of the CAC district is to provide a medium to large, maximum of 10 to 25 feet front setback. Reducing the minimum length of the building facade along Cleveland Avenue from 60% to 19% is substantial. Reducing the minimum amount of transparency for a non-residential building from 60% to 19% is substantial, but could be supported given the use and if the applicant were to be compliant with building location and design. Allowing car wash stacking and 1 parking space between the principal building and Cleveland Avenue is not substantial given the amount of proposed landscape screening. Number 3, is the essential character of the neighborhood altered? As the neighborhood exists currently, the character would not be altered. However, the goal of bringing the site into the community activity center is to evolve the character of the area to a mixed use and walkable environment. New development should reinforce pedestrian and transit access. Government service affected, no. Knowledge of zoning, yes. Number 6, predicament feasibility without variance. Yes, the building could be rotated 90 degrees, limiting the two most intense variance requests. And finally, number 7, the spirit and intent and substantial justice. Granting the variances, no. The spirit and intent of the newly adopted code, which again is to evolve the character into a mixed use and walkable environment that reinforces pedestrian and transit access, is being dismissed as an inconvenience rather than a hardship. So, if approved, however, staff recommends the following condition that the applicant will commit to the stamp landscape.
Jamie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Based on your statement, the CAC, is that what this is?
Yeah.
CAC. You describe pedestrian friendly, but it's a car wash. So if you don't have a car, you don't need to be there. So can you help reconcile that for me?
Of course, can you go there? Yeah. Pedestrian friendly means the site or the walkability along Cleveland Avenue. We're trying to encourage better pedestrian access to all the businesses that will be coming along Cleveland Avenue.
So you're saying they need a sidewalk there or what?
There is a sidewalk there.
So you're saying they should be closer to the street?
We're saying the building should be rotated, yes, and closer to the street.
So rotated.
90 degrees, so instead of going east-west, it goes north-south.
Got it.
The applicant has been asked why they can't view this by both planning, traffic, and staff, and there's not ever been given an answer.
Oh, thank you.
Well, good thing they're here tonight. Okay, state your names for the record or when you were sworn in.
My name is Dave Perry, and I have been sworn.
Okay,
Joe Bertucci, and I have been sworn.
okay, perfect. Have you guys signed in?
Yes.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Can I give you these? Thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chair Palmer, members of the PCA. My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent on behalf of Lulu Express Car Wash. And Joe, would you introduce yourself?
Joe Bertucci, Vice President of Development with Express Wash Concepts, parent company in Lima.
Okay, the proposal is stated by staff to develop a site with a Lulu Express Car Wash as depicted on the site plan for the variance application. But let's first just briefly talk about what this app and the staff position is not about. So, August 2024, this site was placed into the CAC district. The CAC district permits a car wash by right. This is not a special permit use, not conditional use, it's not anything, it's permitted use by right. The staff, my understanding is the staff is not opposed to a car wash per se. That the disapproval recommendation is related to the orientation of the building. The car wash building, I want to cover different things about the site, and Joe has handled the negotiations with Home Depot, but his discussion with Home Depot is very pertinent to this application. But the building cannot be oriented north-south. We'll come back to that. The site is 0.9 acres.
So I think we should probably get to that first, because that seems to be the crux of the disapproval.
Well, so is, Chair, with your permission, so is the context of the site being 0.9 acres.
So is what?
I'll be brief on that, and then we'll get to Home Depot. Okay, so the site is 0.9 acres. And on this map I just handed out, there's 2 sheets. This is just printed from the Franklin County GIS. And you'll notice on the first sheet, I've used yellow highlighter on a tiny little piece. And then the second page is just an enlargement of that parcel. And the pertinence of this is the site does not front on Community Park Drive. It is wrapped on 3 sides by Home Depot. Home Depot owns all of the Community Park Drive frontage.
and to the west and the north. The only frontage of this site is Cleveland Avenue. Cleveland Avenue is limited access right of way for the I-270 interchange. There can be no access from Cleveland Avenue. There could be no, a building could be oriented to Cleveland Avenue, but there's a reason that O'Charlie's was built not oriented to Cleveland Avenue. It's oriented to Community Park Drive.
And when you say oriented, the front?
Front face.
Okay.
Yeah, front face.
Do you know the reason? Do you know the reason that Charlie's was not for a fact?
Broad face, yes, because of the shape of the parcel is a rectangle, and the narrow side of the rectangle is the Cleveland Avenue frontage. But Charlie's is built long on the parcel, the same as the car wash would be built long on the long side of the rectangle.
But why?
Charlie's was built before there was zone in. But the facing side, the face to the intersection, the face to the Cleveland Community Park intersection is the south side. That's where their graphics are. That's where Charlie's wall signs are.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
That's the
not like you're trying to
orientation.
justify something, and I'm trying to understand.
The access is from Community Park Drive. It's the visibility for a driver to know where to go.
Okay. I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay.
Continue on.
Okay, so Charlie's restaurant is closed. Charlie's pulled out of Columbus, Ohio in the fall of 2023. The building has been for sale. It is boarded. There are signs of homelessness at the property. The brush has been overgrown, trash, and et cetera. This is the northern entrance to the Northland community. As I said, the site is surrounded on three sides by Home Depot, and this is the pertinent part about Home Depot. Home Depot has total architectural and site design control of this site.
Excuse me. What are the three sides? I see the north side.
Northwest and south. The east is Cleveland Avenue.
Because this area down here at the bottom is it's parking space,
part of Home
it's
Depot.
grass.
It doesn't matter. It's facing the street, so it's not facing Home Depot by any stretch. It's bordered by their parcel, yes.
Yeah.
But it's facing the street. So I think it's a little disingenuous to say that it's facing on three sides Home Depot.
It abuts Home Depot on three sides.
You're referring to Home Depot's green space?
No, that's parking for Home Depot. And
Green
their
space and parking
their ground
space?
sign. That's Home Depot's parking and ground sign.
Okay, so
where's your parking?
Parking will be on the rectangle
On the rectangle.
with the moo
Okay.
type design. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I thought about this in different ways, given the staff position, and I'll refer you back to my little map. The Charlie site and the Home Depot is a little over 12 acres. And the city rezoned Home Depot also to the CAC district. Gigantic anchor building with a gigantic parking lot in front of it. Now, is it plausible? Is it possible that Home Depot could be redeveloped at some point in time? Maybe, in theory. But the reason I bring that up is that a 12-acre site, we wouldn't be here on this if a 12-acre redevelopment was in sight. The 12-acre redevelopment would have apartments, retail, and the car wash probably worked into it. But we're not dealing with a 12-acre site. We're dealing with 0.9 acres. So the staff wants the building oriented north-south, but the car wash tunnel is 120 feet long. And given the Home Depot property wrap of the south side or the north side, the 120-foot tunnel plus queuing lanes, plus pay stations, plus exiting does not fit on the property north-south. It just doesn't. We've looked at that.
So you're saying you were unsuccessful negotiating with Home Depot for the placement? That's what I hear.
Yep.
Because you're capable of doing it, but the negotiation didn't go in your favor to allow for this.
No, we are not capable of doing it. The building and the required access does not fit on the parcel without changing the property lines and without changing the easements with Home Depot. Let's transition.
Are you using the existing building?
No.
No, redevelopment.
Okay, so
Redevelopment. The car wash tunnel and required access and required egress. And by access and egress, I'm talking about
For the cars.
you've all been to Moo Moo, I'm sure. The queuing lanes to get into the car wash and the exit lanes and the circulation to the vacuum area, it does not fit.
What are the distances on those lanes? I still haven't even told me that either. You got what, 120 for the building,
120 feet.
and the lanes are how long? How long?
Typically to enter, you need minimum 40 feet, and to exit 30, 35 feet.
Okay, so you've got a 120-foot building, 155-foot site. You can put your egress on the easement going back into Home Depot, and the math works.
No, it does not, Jamie. The easements are specific to the access to O'Charlie's. With the board's pleasure, let's transition
So
to
the
the Home Depot discussion.
Let's say that again. So Home Depot, the easements that they gave O'Charlie's, you have to abide by those same
We
easements.
do. Absolutely. Chair Palmer, Bailey, is it okay to transition to Joe's negotiations with Home Depot?
I don't know if we need that. I don't know what that, then how that.
Well, what it does is Home Depot will not amend, Home Depot will not change the parcel. It's been proposed. The proposal was to split the parcel, make it narrower east-west and longer north-south, and then put the building, orient the building north-south. The answer to that was no. Home Depot's architectural review of the Moo Moo building required Moo Moo to reduce the height, their normal height of the car wash. With, for all of us that are familiar with Moo Moo, it's a steeper roof and has a cupola on top. Home Depot required Moo Moo to reduce the height of the building. And in terms of changing the easement, the answer was just no, and no. And it was not a negotiation, it was just no.
So yeah, you can say that on the record, I believe you, that's fine. So you're saying the easements that are in existence for O'Charlie's, you have to abide by that. And so you're saying you cannot change the orientation of the building and operate within the Home Depot easements.
Correct.
And with the city standards, all those things.
Correct.
So
And
that's square peg round hole to me. I mean, maybe this isn't the site for you. I think it's a little challenging for me personally to look at the zoning efforts, the rezoning efforts that have taken place, and to allow new construction to just kind of thumb their nose, speaking specifically about this project, at what was created. I haven't heard anything compelling to suggest that that should happen. I understand that, you know, there was effectively no negotiation. We can't help that. You know, in some cases, there are hardships. I don't know that this is a hardship. You're creating a hardship for yourself. This doesn't have to be your site. It's just, it's challenging for me. I'm letting you know now to do that for a district that was just created and codified, to say, oh, you know, it's okay because this existing building, which if it's to be redeveloped, to your point, at some point, this entire site, it will need to be compliant.
the 12 acres, yes, Mr. Jones, not 0.9 acres. And
Well, but why not 0.9 acres?
That's where you're starting.
there's no,
Or is there a minimal? Like, why are you saying that the 0.9 acres are exempt?
no, I'm not saying it's exempt. I'm saying the 0.9 acres in a rectangle oriented the wrong way for the way the city wants the building does not work.
But it doesn't work for you.
Right.
So to Mr. Jones' point, maybe this isn't the right site for Google.
Well,
Can I share?
Yeah.
So you have to come up and speak on the record if you're coming.
this is the, come on up. This is the broker that has had the listing for the property.
Can you state your name on the record and then you can start? Wait,
Yeah.
so you guys are really kind of over your time. So is this, what are we hearing here?
Can I make everyone aware of, so these are two different property owners. Home Depot does not own this property, so two separate property owners. And there's a reciprocal easement and operating agreement that governs both. And with that, just talking about the spirit of the ordinance, there are restrictions on this property outside just the parking easement area. And it is that you cannot build no more than one building on the property. It cannot be over 21 feet in height. It cannot be more than 7,000 square feet. And it cannot be more than one business operating out of the facility. So it is restricted by not allowing multi-tenant, multi-use development. Home Depot has rights over any site plan submitted, so anyone would have to submit their plan to Home Depot. And our building is located there on the property because that was Home Depot's direction. We originally had it as close as we could get it to Community Park Drive. So essentially trying to meet the spirit of the code by having the building street front, even though we don't have frontage along Community Park Drive. And so Home Depot does not permit, also in the reciprocal easement agreement, your entrance cannot face their parking. So to them, that was the backside of the building that has no entrance and exit, kind of facing it. Also their garden center, which is, you see the asphalt that looks like it's part of your Charlie's or would be part of our site. That's the easement area. And so Home Depot is very protective of the garden center side. So that's why they're not amenable to making any changes. But the restrictions were reduce the redevelopment of the site.
Good on Home Depot, but the Columbus city also has restrictions. And what you're doing is putting Home Depot's interests above the city. And that's what we don't like. We have standards too. And we're saying this is the standard. And like Mr. Jones said, we went through a whole process to create the CAC. And you're just coming in saying, it doesn't matter. And we're saying it is.
I'd like to hear what the broker has to say.
Anthony Carasello at Location Commercial Real Estate, the broker of record.
You were sworn.
Yes, I was sworn.
Thank you.
Just Mr. Jones, for further clarification on building orientation, to Mr. Perry's point, we rep a QSR who's looked at this as well in anticipation of this deal not moving forward, and we are faced with the same challenges. Just like Dave said about frontage on Cleveland Avenue and the entrance facing Cleveland Avenue, we would have to do the same thing for a QSR user as well. So I think, although I don't think it was the intent of the CAC for this reason, this will not only impact Moo, any future QSR is going to run into the same issue.
What's a QSR?
Quick service restaurant. So my concern is if this deal doesn't move forward, our client that we're representing on the retail side is looking at this as well as a backup to this deal not going forward, and we're running into the same issues. So I just wanted clarification on the orientation. That I don't think you're going to have any retailer without access to Cleveland Avenue that's going to orient the storefront to Cleveland Avenue. If you go just to the south, McDonald's storefront faces Community Park, not Cleveland Avenue.
I truly appreciate what you're saying. It becomes very challenging again for us to say yes to any project that is not compliant with new zoning, the new zoning code. It is so new, and there is an opportunity to build something. It may not be a quick service restaurant or retail establishment, but something can go there. And, you know, Home Depot did an exceptional job apparently negotiating these restrictions that they put in place, but the original person who negotiated this benefited. Now they're trying to sell it to somebody else who has some challenges. I don't know that can be our problem. I can't in good conscience make a decision to approve a project that simply thumbs its nose in the face of the new zoning code.
Well, Mr. Jones, the new code is a consideration, but if the new code doesn't work on a parcel, it doesn't make the new code right.
It doesn't say that it doesn't work on the parcel. It doesn't work for your user on this parcel.
But we also just had testimony that, Cleveland Avenue, this is part of the interchange. This is limited access right away. There will be no access to the Cleveland Avenue frontage. This is not a pedestrian environment. Moo is proposing what the city request is building a sidewalk along the frontage. There are not people walking across this interchange. Does CAC apply elsewhere? Elsewhere, yes. At this site, it does not. So With that, we're going to take you up on your offer to table the application.
And I would, to bring this back, Mr. Perry, I think it would be helpful to focus on help us get comfortable that we should abandon the new requirements. Focus on that and not focusing on the Home Depot negotiations a part of it. Help us get comfortable that, like you just said at the end, no site, nothing can go.
Thank you for that. The comfort level is, the CSE requires the front of a building to face Cleveland Avenue in this instance. And,
Yeah, but that's not it. I mean, you have transparency.
there's a lot of things.
Placement, so.
There's a lot of things that are required because of CSE in relation to Cleveland Avenue. It's required front Cleveland Avenue, it's required to have a certain amount of glass, it's required to have front entrances. It's, forgetting for the moment the Home Depot issues, the broker just gave testimony that he's not getting any interest in the site. Number one, he's not had interest in the site as a different restaurant in the same building. And secondly, he's not had any interest in the site for redevelopment because of that issue of facing Cleveland Avenue. So, I mean, the getting you comfortable with variance to the CAC standards is that issue. Look at, I don't know if we have an aerial of a larger view of the entire interchange, but buildings are not oriented to Cleveland Avenue at the interchange.
And I think
they're oriented to Schrock. They're oriented to
And I
Community
think when
Park.
you come back, that's the piece that we need you to show us that.
Okay.
Like, show us this is not going to be us opening Pandora's box to, tell us why this particular site is unique and this is not going to be the case for other sites in the area.
Madam Chair, I want to respect certainly the applicants.
We can't hear you.
Hold on, we need.
Hold on a second, I will ask for,
Okay.
I'll ask.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have comments to share with Mr. Perry about bringing this back?
No, I agree with the chair that we're going to need to show that this is a unique circumstance. It's not going to be used as precedent for things like that will need to be more fully developed in the testimony before the board.
Okay, if the board is willing, Dave Paul with Northland was here last month on this and is now here on this, and I think he would, Dave, I think would like the opportunity to state Northland's position.
So I'll ask this, so you're asking for tabling?
Tabling, and I would appreciate if Mr. Paul would be allowed to speak.
I will ask if anybody wants to speak on the tabling. Is that you?
Well, I'd like to speak beyond just the issue.
Dave, you can't speak from the audience. You have to come up. Be on the record.
Bear with me, my back is out.
And
I'd like to speak beyond the issue of strictly the tabling to the question before the board, if I might.
Well, we're not going to hear the question before the board. We're not going to hear it.
And that's-
I'm gonna jump in. We need to make the record clear here. So the applicant has requested a tabling. There has not yet been a motion on a tabling or anything. The applicant has the opportunity, if he wishes, to call a witness or two on substance of the application. But I want to be clear on what we're doing here. What are we proceeding with the tabling motion, or are we keeping this open for further substantive discussion? Either way is fine. It's unclear what's going on.
I don't know, why would we continue to hear on the substance if we're going to vote for tabling? Because we're not going to vote on this tonight. So you saying this is.
May I
It's
ask,
not swaying the people who are going to vote, because the people who are going to vote on it will be different.
if my comments were to give the commission, the board, any clarity as to the substance of the topic we're discussing, does the applicant have the option at this point of not tabling, of saying, okay, we'd like you to go ahead and consider the matter?
They did.
Okay, perhaps it's the applicant's choice.
It is.
Go ahead and speak, Dave.
Okay,
Okay.
if I might, I was not sworn.
Oh. All this time when you say that? You promise to give the truth and nothing but the truth in testimony tonight, please say I do.
I do.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
My name is Dave Paul. I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee. I appreciate your patience. I thought I might be able to provide some clarity in this because as the local area commission, in effect, obviously we're familiar with this site and with what surrounds it. I believe the applicant did point out, and again, I don't know that we have a map among the maps connected with the exhibits connected with this application, but this is the northernmost contiguous parcel in the CAC district in this area of Northland. Apologies. Directly north of this site, really directly north of the Home Depot parcel, is a cloverleaf intersection. It is I-270, the connector to Cleveland Avenue. It is not a pedestrian area. It's not an area where pedestrian access is encouraged or is likely to ever be encouraged. Nor is this community at this time. I understand we're trying to anticipate what's going to happen in the future. I don't personally believe this particular area is likely to, at least adjacent to this lot, represent a walkable part of the community. I think this is almost the end of the CAC district on its northern edge. There's another part up on Schrock Road, but it is the northern end of the CAC district in this area. We understand the applicant's dilemma in terms of placing a car wash here. However, our committee did feel a car wash was an appropriate use in this area. It is a highway-oriented area. It would have been, if it was not zoned for a restaurant, it would have been zoned for highway-oriented uses, perhaps convenience stores, etc. And we don't believe that we're in a position as the area commission or advisory body to sort of re-engineer the applicant's application, but we understood and accepted their arguments that the building could not be rotated 90 degrees and be placed north-south in this parcel. Most of the variances, the ones pertaining to transparency, for example, are a consequence of the somewhat unique architecture of a car wash. It's a big garage. It's a big extended garage, and this end is very narrow by design. Folks drive in one end and come out the other. This end is going to be very narrow. That end is facing a culvert, which then on the other side of the culvert resolves in Cleveland Avenue. But it's never, our sense has been as we drive by this property, that Cleveland Avenue was its frontage, even though it has a Cleveland Avenue address. The Community Park Drive frontage has always been the frontage of both the restaurant, at least in terms of consumer perception, and of Home Depot. So insisting that the long edge, long face, or elevation of this structure should face Cleveland Avenue seems to us, I think, to overlook the fact that the real frontage is on Community Park Drive. That's where pedestrian activity is likely to occur. It's not likely to travel north along Cleveland Avenue. And we do feel that this is a compatible use, even given the fact that it does not directly, thank you, follow the CAC guidelines of this particular parcel within this newly established zone and district. We do understand zone in, we've accepted, in fact, we volunteered this area and 161 to become part of the zone in initiative. But we do think that an exception really does kind of make sense in this particular case. So, thank you. Any questions?
No questions from me.
All right. Thank you. And the vote was unanimous in support of this application.
Saw that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, one last comment before we table this. Think about what the staff is asking for. They're asking for the Cleveland Avenue frontage, a major arterial going over an interstate, to have a 120-foot long car wash building with no entrances, with no glass, with no nothing, and that would be okay.
We didn't say that.
Versus heavy landscaping and the orientation as proposed.
We said the transparency would be negotiable. Not.
How many windows are you gonna put on a car wash, Jamie?
Well, make it look pretty.
Come on.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to table.
Second.
Mr. Wallerly,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Chair Paul Bailey.
Yes. Table.
Thank you.
Next time, month or whatever.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a 5-minute hygiene break.
We might be able to. And we're 12 o'clock. Our windows open up. Mr. Paul, why didn't you advocate at zone in to exclude this section or make it something different? I mean, there was an opportunity to do that.
Let's say it.
I mean, that's non-related.
It's kind of related. Let's say it. So,
And I'm not sure I have a good ready answer for you anyway. I have to think about that. I think it may have been a question of timing as much as anything else. I mean, this,
He did just say save it.
yes.
come back, talk to us.
Okay. Give me a call if you need to, or want to. All right, thanks. Thank you.
I got you. Yeah.
Oh, that's all you
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, it's these two of them.
And like I was previous job. Started at 6:1 that trail.
What is
Yeah, and then.
I don't. I feel like we're still going to be more keen with their eye and look at parcel. They can determine which parcel belongs, this parcel doesn't. They've done it in many cases. As a matter of fact, one thing, if there are parts of where it's school, if they disapprove later in the year. Okay, that's it's a. I know.
I got 40.
Jamie?
You know. We're trying to get up.
I was actually thinking about that because if I'm going by faster.
The two members on the list. Right? You're a pro at this.
Looking through it, this is my night for some reason.
Adam, they were out there. Okay.
That's the applicant?
No, what was your conclusion with that guy? Oh, he got a hold of us. So he's, or even if they email, you know, maybe that's gonna.
Didn't want to approach.
I mean, not in this case, but you could. The internet is right there.
I can save in my bag, but I can't.
I should have gotten that changes and he'll make a.
All my soccer.
Game.
We might as well be at 25. I'm leaving at 7:05. Well, nice. The rest of the. Thank you. Yeah. That's true. But that is okay. He's like, oh yeah, he left in the beginning.
I know. But I was like.
He left when we said no. He knew he wasn't staying. The meeting was more important than this.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah. Why do you even let these people do this?
Well, you can't ask.
Do something that's.
But do they have the ability to request a standing to request a change in the agenda?
Well, we originally said no, we'd have to ask the applicant. And then we were like, well, why don't you ask the board and you can ask the applicant?
As what?
Well, this is the case that they were asking.
Oh.
They wanted this to be. No, he wasn't.
No, he
Right,
was a
so,
witness.
just like last month with the Milo Grogan case, Milo Grogan wanted us to table it. We said, no, you have to request it. First of all, you can't request a table.
Right.
The applicant has to.
Especially when it's coming from like an area commission that already has their recommendation on file. It's like, why do you say?
Yeah.
I just think that there's
But
something.
we didn't want to put Dave on the spot. So we said, you go ask the commission, the board. They'll probably say no. You know.
Okay, ready? Hey, we are zooming. Do you guys remember the case? Okay, so they want you to stay. Single victim. 5900 Shannon Road.
5900 Shannon Road is located on the north side of Shannon Road, opposite Sycamore Oak Avenue. It is part of the Greater Southeast Area Commission and the existing zoning is PUD 8 district. The 30.469 acre site is currently undeveloped farmland. Surrounding uses include similar farmland to the north and south, and religious facilities to the east and west. The applicant proposes to construct a subdivision of single unit dwellings. The applicant is requesting a reduction in the required rear yard from 25% of the lot area to 22% of the lot area, specifically for the lots with attached single unit dwellings, to allow the development as proposed. Southeast Land Use Plan recommends support for a range of housing types and sensitive site design or cluster development to preserve natural resources. Columbus citywide planning policies, C2P2 design guidelines also recommend new single and 2-unit housing should be oriented to the street and reflects the prevailing setback and spacing of nearby homes as appropriate. Staff notes that the requested variance is technical in nature as a result of final engineering and does not substantially change the overall proposal. Therefore, planning is supportive. Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Greater Southeast Area Commission has recommended disapproval of the requested variance, voting 0 to 5 against with 1 abstention. City Department's recommendation is that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the variance is slight and technical in nature. Staff is also supportive of the proposal as it is aligned with the city's goal of providing more housing in all parts of the city. Check.
Okay, state the names, what are you sworn in?
Go ahead,
Nicholas Lipinski, what's on it?
Nick, just for the record, Nick is an employee of Fisher Homes. My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for the applicant, Turning Branch LLC and Fisher Homes.
Okay,
Okay, as stated, the site is on PUD8 from a 2022 rezoning that I did. The PUD is 146 lots with 34 attached single family, the balance being detached single family. The attached single family are located along the west property line and northwest corner of the 30-acre subdivision site. And as Dane indicated, this variance request is applicable only to the attached units to reduce rear yard from 25% to 22%. What Fisher has determined, Fisher has a ranch model attached single family. By attached single family, just for the record, I do not mean two family. I mean units with a property line along the party wall and that are sold individually.
Are they condominiums or townhomes?
They are fee simple units. They are not condominiums. Okay. But they're attached at a party wall. So Fisher has a ranch style product that has been very successful in Delaware and another location, and proposes to build those here. And what we found is that with the ranch style, there is greater ground coverage, of course. So we are than 2 stories. So we are requesting that 3% rear yard reduction. It isn't exactly 3%, but it's a number to work with. The engineers were telling me 22.2, 22.4, so on. So I made it 22%. So it is not more than 3% reduction. It's probably slightly less on each lot.
What was the application of?
And I don't know, how would we reduce the rear yard, or how many lots, maybe? How do we?
There's 34 total
Okay.
attached single family. And I encourage you to have the motion specify that it's for the attached units only. It is not intended to apply to the subdivision in its entirety.
We can put that in the language of the board order.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what was the opposition of the area commission? Why are they so opposed to this?
Well, I can tell you the history on that. And I don't know exactly why, but.
Weren't you at the meeting?
It went to the zoning committee that I was at. I was not able to attend the full commission. A representative of Fisher attended the meeting. But at the zoning committee, I believe, Mr. Jones, there's been some confusion. I did 2 area commission meetings in 2022 on the rezoning. The first meeting had many of the normal things about traffic and density and green space and so on. And I encouraged the owner that we go back together after some amenities were added. And what was added was in the, let's see, what other slides do you have, Dane?
So these are the slides that we have. This was an update that we received.
That one's good. That center area at the bottom of the screen, center area, that's the largest of some different reserves. There are reserves flanking that to the east and west that are landscaping. In that center area, there's a pond. And what was added on the second trip back to the area commission was a pickleball court in that area, swing set, grilling station, and walking path around the entire reserve. And the commission voted on that second time back for an approval of 5-1. And Mr. Harper has said those things were not addressed. They are addressed. How could I have not addressed them? They are requirements of the PUD plan. They're depicted on the PUD plan. The Development Commission voted for approval with those amenities depicted on the plan. So honestly, I don't get the understanding or the misunderstanding, but the zoning was changed between the first time through with the area commission and the second time through. And the statements made at the second area commission meeting related to those items being added and depicted. The zoning has a landscape plan, and those items depicted on that center reserve area. Those are the same drawings that were shown to the area commission, the same drawings that went to the development commission, and the same drawings that are in the ordinance that city council passed.
So effectively, they're not even, I don't hear opposition to the zoning variance. But, right, and that's helpful for me to understand. If that's your testimony and that's your understanding, because that really doesn't concern me too much. But if they said, well, you're back into what's currently farmland and they're planning to put a daycare back there, that's different.
Well, and it's, from my perspective, Mr. Jones, the issues are different. The zoning is done, been done for 2 years. It is subject to the plan that is on the screen and the PUD text that requires these things. And the issue on the table at the moment is a minor reduction in rear yard for a few of the units.
And we're referring to the ones that are in the back, the things that are at the top.
On the screen, it's the left side, not where that cursor is now. Along the west property line, this is showing the final plat in section 1. There'll be a section 2 plat also that will complete the subdivision to the north, but it's along the north property line and at the northwest.
You keep saying stuff and you're confusing me now. So we're going up and down on the left or across at the top?
Left.
Okay, so what's on the left now? What is that other, that a fence? What is that? No. What do I see right there to your left? What is all of that?
Oh,
Oh, that's just data.
Yeah, that's a data table.
Engineer data.
Okay, so we're not seeing whatever's over there. What is over there to the left? Currently.
There is an acreage parcel with some kind of compound of dwellings and buildings and so on. It's, I'm not sure exactly what it's used for.
Okay. Do you remember if they were ever a part of the zoning?
They were not.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Do we have any more questions for the applicant? Okay, going to the non-factors, I do think, it sounds like Fisher's expertise is saying that the property would not yield a reasonable return without this usage, this design. The variance is not substantial, going from 25 to 22%. Central character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered by reducing that lot area. No adverse effects to the delivery of governmental services. The property owner, I'm assuming, purchased the property knowing the zoning restrictions, seeing that this was a recent rezoning. The property owner's predicament could be obviated through a method other than variance. They could actually reduce the footprint of the house. But I think that would, as the statement was made in the hardship statement, that would totally negate the whole purpose of building new homes. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and so I think substantial justice done by granting the variance in this case. Are you ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called, Ms. Sullivan.
Mr. Jones?
I concur with the assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Mr. Waddley?
I concur as well and vote yes.
Chair Pond Bailey?
Yes, variance granted.
Great, thank you.
6057 East Main Street.
6057 East Main Street is located on the south side of East Main Street, approximately 450 feet east of McNaughton Road. It is owned in the CAC Commercial Activity Center District and part of the Far East Area Commission. The 20 plus or minus acre site is developed multi-tenant, developed into a multi-tenant commercial center. Surrounding uses are similar multi-tenant commercial center to the west, a mix of multi and single unit residential to the east and south, and Interstate 270 to the north. The applicant proposes to construct an eating and drinking establishment with drive-through services in an existing shopping center. A variance is being requested to increase the setback from East Main Street from 25 feet to 30 feet or 31 feet and to reduce the total length of facade required within or abutting a facade zone from 60%, 1,015 plus or minus to 5.5%, 56 feet. Staff note the proposed building elevations are consistent with the Columbus citywide planning policy design guidelines. Staff note the revised site plan provides greater consistency with the 2P2 design guidelines with additional landscape screening and plantings along East Main Street frontage. Staff note the proposed is located within the Title 34 district. Accordingly, to maintain alignment with the policy direction established by City Council to promote walkable and mixed-use development, staff applies a higher level of scrutiny to variance and rezoning requests in these areas, in addition to adopted land use plans and design guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management has states right-of-way dedication of 60 feet from center line of East Main Street will be required. And the Far East Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 6-0. Staff recommend disapproval. Staff can recommend approval of the request to increase the building setback from 25 feet to 30 feet due to a 31 feet, due to a 30-foot stormwater easement along Main Street frontage between the proposed building and the right-of-way. Staff is recommending disapproval to reduce the total length of facade required within or abutting facade zone from 60% to 5.5%. And these are the reasons. Number one, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return. Yes, the property currently has multiple active commercial uses. Whether variance is substantial, reducing the minimum length of building facade along East Main Street from 60 to 5.5 is substantial. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be sustainably altered or substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. As the neighborhood exists currently, the character would not be altered. However, the goal of bringing the sign to the community activity center is to evolve the character of the area into a mixed-use and walkable environment. New development should reinforce pedestrian and transit access. Number 4, no government service. Number 5, whether property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. There's no way to tell that. And number 6, whether site is being leased, not purchased. So there you go. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method of variance. There is no predicament. A plus or minus 2,128 square foot single story eating and drinking establishment, while allowed, is not the highest and best use of the site. And number 7, whether spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement to be observed and substantial justice done by granting a variance. No, the spirit and intent of the newly adopted code, which again is to evolve the character of the area into a mixed-use and walkable environment that reinforces pedestrian and transit access, is being dismissed out of inconvenience rather than hardship. And we're saying a condition that the applicant will commit to the landscape plan to ensure compatibility with C2 design guidelines. Jeff.
Okay, can you state your names for the record, or would you just stand in?
I'm Michael Brummer. I was sworn in. I'm here representing Gilligan Company, or GOC Roco, it's the legal name.
And my name is Dave Perry. I have been sworn and I'm here on behalf of GSC Realco Company as agent.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I will. This shopping center was built around 1990. It was built in a fashion typical of the time and for many years since then, with a very large parking field in front of the buildings. See, Adam, do you have aerial? Is that it?
Yeah. Is this where it's going?
Can you enlarge that?
I don't know, that's not.
Is it the Burlington?
Yeah, Burlington. Yep, there you go. So it was built typical of the time and for many years since then, with large retail buildings deep on the parcel and a large parking field in front. This site, I want you to think about this in context of the staff recommendation about complying with the facade zone occupancy. The site has over 1,000 feet of frontage. And to comply with that standard would mean placing a building 600 feet long on the frontage, 60%. And no shopping center owner would ever allow that, to have a 600-foot long building blocking sight lines to the anchors. In about 2020, 21, I did the zoning for the Moo Moo Car Wash that is on the east side, the right side of the site. Moo Moo has been built. That was under a different zoning than the current CAC, of course. And Schottenstein Property Group has been gradually leasing pads for development on the frontage. So Moo Moo has been operating for years now. Dunkin' Donuts has proposed. There will be other sites as they make deals for bulk parcels. This is not a lot split. And so the staff, that number of 5.5% occupancy comes from the staff asking me to calculate the facade zone occupancy of the building based on 1,010 feet of frontage for a Dunkin' Donuts.
Is that what this is proposing, a Dunkin' Donuts?
Proposed Dunkin' Donuts, yeah.
And this is at the front of the lot?
That's from sidewalk connection will be made from the Dunkin' Donuts to the Main Street sidewalk. Main Street has sidewalk for miles. The Dunkin' Donuts has no bearing whatsoever on impacting pedestrian use of the area.
I'm still a little lost. So
Okay.
right now, just to kind of go back to your other case, where it was proposed to go from east-west to north-south, to have frontage along the arterial or the corridor, the major corridor, and that in this case would be Main Street. From what I can see, it looks like, is that what you're doing? Is the length of your building parallel?
The longer side of the building is parallel to Main Street.
Which is kind of
What they want.
right.
Standard.
So what are we missing?
What you're missing is since the site is not a lot split, the staff has asked me to calculate the length of the building based on 1,000 feet of frontage.
So you're effectively creating walkability and all the spirit of the CAC. You're just not taking the entire frontage. And that just means the next people, in my opinion, need to be able to do the same thing that you're doing to effectively create the facade that goes along Main Street.
There will be, as Schottenstein Property Group makes other arrangements for outlot development, even though it's not an outlot, it's a lease. There will be future applications, and this issue of only 5.5% of 1,010 feet of frontage is 5.5% more facade zone occupancy than you've got now.
But it's 5.5% of what? What's the total of what is the total?
1,010 feet of frontage.
No, your building.
Yeah.
How much frontage?
Oh, how long is the building?
Yeah, how long is your building?
65 feet or something,
56.
or 56, yeah.
56 feet?
Yeah.
And how much?
So again, just to clarify, you guys are looking at this frontage in its entirety.
Right.
Sorry, John. You're looking at the frontage in its entirety and saying that because this is a lease and it's one parcel, it needs to be developed accordingly.
That's what the code says, yes.
Understood.
And the reason why the code says that is because the size of the site. Because this is over 10 acres, it's 20 acres, if not more. This should have been developed. We're not saying it had to be, but it should have been developed the way the code is written as with a framework plan showing multiple buildings with access from Main Street into what's known as a public realm. So while a standalone Dunkin' Donuts is not what the code writers had in mind, it's still allowed use, but it should have been integrated into what would be more like a small Granby Crossing, which they did, which is kind of the framework behind the Marklight standards. So we're not focusing that much on our disapproval. We're writing the statement as it is because we, are bound by the code, but that's kind of giving the background of why we're doing what we're doing. So this one isn't as, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions as it relates to the lease agreement versus the property owner. So if we were to grant a variance, it runs with the property to the property owner. And from what I can tell, the property owner isn't present to provide testimony.
They're not.
So who is acting on behalf of the property owner in order for us to address the variance being requested on the property owner's property?
The application is by the GE.
Yeah, but we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Where the owner, the person leasing it is effectively running their business and doing what they need to do to get the variances.
Yeah.
They've given them permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, the owner signed the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, just to put a pin in this and wrap it up. If we were to say yes to this, the developer for the remaining frontage, whatever they try to parcel off, if they come in and bring up something that's perpendicular, we can say, nope, not gonna happen. You know, fortunate that you were the first one to the site, I would say. But based on what you're saying, we could continue with that argument, whether it's one parcel or if they decide to split it up. But we can maintain that entire concept of saying the frontage, we want it walkable, we want it pedestrian friendly, et cetera. Okay, thank you.
Each new site, we consider it a site within the bigger site, would have to adhere to the new Title 34 standards. So
Gotcha.
So why are you increasing the setback?
30-foot stormwater easement, the building cannot be placed in.
Oh, okay, so you have.
So
a true hardship.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I think, Jamie, I think somebody suggested we could vacate the easement. Wow.
Yeah, if they dedicate the right of way to traffic management, they would need that.
Okay, do we have any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay, Duncan factors, property in question could not yield a reasonable return without, these variances. Seems like these are, well, one is the easement, true hardship, the other one seems like a technicality and how we are applying the CAC district rules. The variance is not substantial. Taking that into context, the character of the neighborhood would be altered by this new building up front. That is the purpose of CAC. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. The property is being leased. So we don't know about the purchase, the owner's knowledge. There is no other way to get this done without the variances. But I think that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting a variance to the extent that we're holding any other frontage on this lot to the same standards that we're doing today.
Yep.
Ready for the question? Questions be called, spell the roll.
Mr. Wobbly,
I agree with the chair's assessment, but yes.
Mr. Jones,
I respectfully disagree with the assessment of the property yielding a reasonable return. The property owner has and continues to yield a return based on their current operation. Other factors I do agree with wholeheartedly and vote yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey,
Yes, variance granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
4925. Council
other-
Rate Road.
The other good news is that I'm leaving now.
Postal Way. Postal Way.
49.
Application. 4925 Fossil Wave Road is located on the west side of Fossil Wave Road, approximately 530 feet north of Bethel Road. Is zoned R rural and located in Northwest Civic Association. The 0.8 acre site is developed with 2 single unit dwellings. Surrounding uses are primarily residential with a pool to the southwest and a medical office building to the southeast. The applicant proposes to lot split the property to combine the resulting southern portion with the adjacent parcel to allow the existing natural gas regulator station to be rebuilt. As requesting a variance to reduce the lot area for the developing lots from 5 acres to 0.576 acres for the northern lot and 0.353 acres for the southern lot, and to reduce the northern side yard setback for the southern lot from 7.5 feet to 0.4 feet. Planning has no comment on the proposal, as the Northwest Plan does not address the issue of lot splits. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment. The Northwest Civic Association voted 4-0 with one abstention in support of the lot area variance, but recommended disapproval on the reduced setback variance. Staff recommends approval of the requested variances because they are procedural to allow the lot to be split and the southern parcel to be combined with another lot. The proposed lot area is similar to other surrounding properties. And staff is requesting condition that the side yard setback variance is to legitimize the existing single unit dwelling until it is to be demolished.
I'm not following, how many lots are we creating here?
So the dotted line is the split of the current parcel, and that southern parcel will combine with the parcel that is further to the south, as well as another parcel, I believe, further south than those, but those are in Perry Township, so those are outside of our jurisdiction.
So we're just talking about the top one. I just trying to follow this. We're
No, so there's a variance to bring
the lot area
of both
5
lots.
acres to 0.576 acres for the northern lot and 0.353 acres for the southern lot. Where's the rest of the acres?
The sum of those is the total acreage of the lot as it exists. It is non-compliant as it exists.
So to have smaller lots, you have to get the variance to have anything smaller than that.
Because this is zoned rural, all lots have to be 5 acres.
I got you.
This lot was existing as
Okay,
less than that.
okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, can you say your names and whether or not you're sworn in?
Yeah, Brian Johnson, I'm with Campo CPC, and I was sworn in.
Janine White with NiSource, and I was sworn in.
Okay. Who wants to speak?
I'll speak. So we agree with the assessment, and we would prefer that we are granted the what's it called, the not a variance, but
Easement, setback,
pardon me?
easement.
No, I just went blank. I apologize.
So there's two.
The waiver for 1 year, so we did go ahead and tear down the building, so we don't have to have a variance on the setback for the
that
condition. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what was it? I don't have a condition.
The condition was added today.
Okay, what was it again?
Condition is that the side yard setback, which is only for the southern lot, variance is to legitimize the existing single unit dwelling until it is to be demolished.
Okay, that's reasonable. Okay, so you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any questions on this one. Should I ask any questions? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Please come.
I have a question while she comes up.
One second.
The existing natural gas regulator, so obviously, services is an issue. What are you doing with the existing natural gas regulator and where are you moving to?
So that's on the parcel that's farther to the south. And that will be probably an item for a future appearance here, but we're going to be combining that southern parcel that we're trying to purchase with the parcel we already own.
But you'll have the easements to access everything that would be built in.
Pardon me?
You'll have easements to access the new regulator station.
Access it from what?
We'll own the property.
We'll own the property. We're purchasing that southern piece that we're asking for the lot split so that we can purchase it. And then we will own both parcels.
Thank you.
Just a quick clarification. My name is Monica Tuttle. I have not been sworn.
You promise the testimony you give tonight is the truth, nothing but the truth, please say I do.
Yes. NWCA zoning chair or the local neighborhood group. Just to clarify, it looks like there's 3 parcels up there. We're only talking about the top. It's 1, but it will become 2. And so what's in the blue box, correct? And you can see the one just south of it is in Perry Township. So possibly they hope to potentially combine them, but that's not on the table today. NWCA is very much the trustees are very much in support of this lot split. There have been concerns from the neighbors about what's going to happen with the lot. That's neither here nor there for tonight. I originally, and what the applicant had mentioned, I had originally offered that we would support a grace period for them to get into compliance and not grant that setback, reduce that setback down to 4 inches. But that doesn't allow this purchase of that parcel to go through, and it doesn't allow the lot to be split, and without the lot to be split, they can't purchase, and without purchasing, they can't demo. So that we came up with this new condition. We are very much opposed to eliminating the easement. So we want to make that condition very clear that the easement will only be for that existing structure. I'm sorry, not the easement. The reduced setback will only be for that existing structure because it is such a small setback that they're requesting. We don't want that to be permanent going forward.
So I have it here as side yard setback for southern lot to remain as long as the building is in existence.
Exactly. And the plan, our understanding is that they're demolishing the building and then it'll all go away. So, okay, thank you so much.
Is anybody else here wants to speak on the application? Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, so Duncan factors, the property in question, I think it would yield a reasonable return. The variance appears substantial, but in reality it is not. The character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. I don't know about the knowledge of the zoning restriction. The applicant has shared their wanting to move to split lots and combine other lots, and this is kind of like the first step, the dominoes to those things need to happen. I think that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, just as justice, that I'm not granting variance. Are you ready to call the question with the condition?
I'll call the question with the condition.
Mr. Jones? I concur with the assessment of the document factors and vote yes.
Mr. Mobley?
I agree with the assessment and also vote yes.
Sheriff Mark Bailey?
Yes, variance granted.
Thank you.
260 West Kenworth Road.
$260 West Kenworth Road is located on the north side of West Kenworth Road, approximately 200 feet east of Owen Canyon Boulevard. It is an R3 residential and part of the Clintonville Area Commission. The site is developed with a single-unit dwelling. Surrounding uses are primarily single-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to expand a detached garage, and a breezeway is being constructed between the detached garage and the dwelling. The variance is being requested to increase the square footage of a garage from 720 square feet to 970 square feet. Planning staff note the proposed building elevations are consistent with the Clintonville neighborhood plan design guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Clintonville Area Commission recommended disapproval with a vote of 4-1. And what they wrote on their recommendation form is that they didn't think that it fit with the Clintonville neighborhood plan. Staff is recommending approval as the increased garage size is proportional to the lot and structure, and the reduced side yard is consistent with development patterns found throughout Clintonville.
Is that it that we're looking at? It's already built?
It's existing. That's the existing one. There's going to be the Louise way, and then the one on the right. That's what you saw in the picture, and then that straight. Yeah.
Sort of an elevation or something.
Can you state your name, whether you're sworn in?
Yes, I was sworn in, Scott Klingensmith of Klingensmith Construction and Development.
Okay. Okay, you want to expand on this?
Sure. We went to Clintonville twice. The first time, I guess, was just for the variance. The second time was more of the application. We had a vote of, I think it was 6 with 1 abstaining the first time. So they seemed to be fine with what we were asking for, which was a variance in the size of the garage. Columbus only allows for 720 square feet. And being a 4-car garage, we're over that by a couple hundred square feet. So they seem to be fine with that. The second meeting was a little chaotic. There were 2 disruptors at the meeting. One had claimed to go around talking with all the neighbors and that she found that no one had received notices of our application. My client had actually gone and spoken to all of her neighbors, and that was not the case. There seems to have been a disagreement between this person in the audience and one of the chair people at Clintonville. So unfortunately, we kind of got caught in the crosshairs. The other issue that came up with is Clintonville was convinced that the existing garage being on a property line is illegal. We've concurred with Adam that that is not the case, and all we're doing is adding one next to it. And Clintonville was quite adamant that that can't be legal and should be a variance. So it was kind of hard for me to argue with that. And I shared that we've talked to zoning about it, and we only had one variance that we needed. So as far as the actual plan, if you see that fence in the background, this is an angled shot. It's very difficult to see that other than walking up their driveway. So when we would plan to propose to add to that garage another 2-bay structure and then use a breezeway and connect to the existing house, you won't see any of it from the street. The homeowners are, the wife's a little bit more than my age and the husband's a little bit older. And so from a hardship standpoint, it's a little dangerous for the husband to navigate outside in inclement weather. And so having a breezeway, an enclosed breezeway, going to the garage spaces where he can access a vehicle and then exit without, risk of falling, is a safety issue for them. They do have a few extra cars that are currently on the street. Kenworth is a very narrow street. Every time I've gone down there to see them, there's cars parked on both sides, and it is very difficult to navigate. So we feel that this is actually an enhancement for the neighborhood, since they can't even see it anyways in the back, but it would get some cars off the street. So that was our pitch, and we got mixed reviews, but I think staff seemed to be in support of what we're proposing.
So, what I heard you say, Adam, is that they didn't think that it fit.
Neighborhood plan.
Is that based on the size of the garage or
That's just
the architectural?
That's they just I believe probably size. But what they wrote is we didn't feel it fit the neighborhood plan, which if you look at planning's comment, says are consistent with the neighborhood plan. So,
Which seems to be inconsistent because I don't think there are many 4-car garages in Clintonville. So I don't know that I agree with that. But generally, when we look at Clintonville in particular, we look for architectural similarities to the house to determine if it's a good fit. I don't have an immediate problem with the size, and it sounds like they might not have that problem in the beginning. I do have an issue with the minimum side yard. Have you spoken with the neighbor and gotten a cross maintenance access agreement?
No, but I wasn't aware that anything was needed. If you look at the existing house, closer.
You're building something new, so that's what we're talking about.
No, I understand. I mean, I wasn't aware that there was any issue that was needed there.
If you need to paint it, you have to go on somebody else's property to paint it.
Yes, my client, the homeowners, have talked to all the immediate neighbors. So on the left side behind them.
I'm gonna ask the question again. Have you gotten a cross maintenance access agreement?
I haven't personally.
Okay, that's gonna, in order for me to be a yes, you're gonna have to have that, because otherwise you're gonna build something that cannot be properly maintained. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I don't know what's currently existing because they have that condition right now.
Nothing's existing because there's nothing there.
Well, I'm talking about the
It's
existing garage.
existing. We don't have anything to do with that.
Right, but that's what he's saying.
The side yard is varying is existing already.
I thought you were talking about the new side.
No.
So he's not going to,
Where it juts out, I don't know if you can see that, that's where it's 3 feet, it's 5 feet right there, yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that. So on the left, in the top left, that's the new garage?
Yes.
And it's going up against the property line?
No.
It's a
There's
5
5
foot
feet.
18.
Okay.
And then where it's reduced is like where it juts out, right after the K and setback. That's where it's actually reduced, but that's.
The existing garage, same thing.
That's the
applies.
existing house, actually.
House in the back?
Yeah,
The garage,
it's like, you might say half garage.
garage in the back.
This is apartments. That's what they're legitimizing. That's where it's 3 feet. The rest is 5 feet.
Wait, but the variance is 0.83.
0.832. 3 feet to 0.83 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the other side. It's, yeah, the existing side.
This is where we're talking.
Yeah.
3 feet.
I'm sorry.
It's reduced from 3 feet.
You're saying that's less than 3 feet?
No.
Well, a lot with 50.
Yeah.
So
It's that side. Yeah. the
same
existing.
But it's
applies.
exists though.
I mean, but he's changing, it's a problem. I'm still no. Unless you can get that. If you were building it new, we would say the same thing. You're trying to legitimize it. You're adding on to basically the garage or making it larger.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. But you cannot have something that cannot be maintained.
So
And
you're,
I'm sure that they want to do that, but they have to have permission to go on the other person's yard in order to do that. So they may have it, but it's not in writing.
sure, you're just referring to the rear then,
No, it's the side.
because the side, there's plenty of room to access without going onto the neighbor's property.
Not if it's 0.83. I mean, help me understand.
Yeah. Well, that's existing though. That's not part of the
It
application.
absolutely is. That's the second variance request here.
Yeah, the east side. That Okay, is part of the application. okay, I misunderstood that.
But the funny thing is, you don't need that variance.
Well, that's why I'm confused because it's a detached garage that's existing.
You're probably advised to apply for that variance because it would clean up the application.
Okay,
So if Mr. Jones doesn't feel like he's
I
gonna
mean-
grant that variance because you don't want to get an easement, then you really don't need it. But it's not hard to get it in maintenance access.
yeah, I have no problem with it. I'm sure my clients won't have any problem with it too. I'm just trying to understand what is being asked of me, so.
If you want to keep it as a variance request, I'm gonna request that be a condition. If you want to remove the variance request and go down to the 333.2.38 and just have that one variance request, then we're good.
I think the issue is, if I can help clarify.
Sure.
Is that the existing, garage
Mhm.
is in the side yard, that's not permitted to be. And so I think they're adding this variance just to legitimize that. But in order to legitimize it, we need for you to get this cross maintenance access agreement. You don't need to legitimize that existing garage to get what you're wanting to build.
Okay,
But it was added in, just because you're bringing something to us, you might as well.
yeah, no, I understand that, and that's fine. I
You
mean,
can go either way, you have to decide.
yeah, I mean, I can tell you that, my clients would like to, whatever is necessary within reason, to move forward with the application.
It's not
because-
necessary at all.
Either way is fine, it's your decision.
I mean, cleaning it up, I think is fine.
Okay.
Then you need to have that, that's a condition then, and it must be met.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I can represent them in that affirmative.
Okay. Anybody here wants to speak about this application? Any other questions? Okay, Duncan factors. The property will in fact yield a reasonable return without this variance. The variance is, not substantial. The character of the neighborhood, would not be substantially altered. As the applicant stated that these changes would not even be visible from the street. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. we don't know about the knowledge of the zoning restriction, the property owner's predicament, could not be obviated through some other method than a variance. They would not be allowed to build what they're trying to build without that. And I think the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, substantial justice done, granting these variances. Are we ready to call the question with the condition?
I call the question with the condition.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolfley?
Yes, and I agree with the chair's assessment of the factor factors.
Mr. Jones?
I agree with the chair's assessment of the document factors and vote yes.
Chair Powell Bailey?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 233 South Oakley Avenue.
Two thirty-three South Oakley Avenue is located at the southwest corner of Ray Street and South Oakley Avenue. It's part of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, and the existing zoning is R3 residential district. The approximately 0.27 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include single unit dwellings to the north, south, and east and west. The applicant proposes to split the existing lots into 6 total lots and construct an attached single unit dwelling on each. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the required parking setback from 10 feet to 5 feet for lot F, to reduce the required vision clearance triangle from 30 feet to 14 feet at the corner of Ray Street and South Oakley Avenue, to reduce the front building setback from 10 feet to 0 feet along Ray Street for lot F, to reduce the minimum lot size from 5,000 square feet to 2,380 square feet for lot A, and 1,785 square feet for lots B, C, D, E, and F, to reduce the minimum lot width from 40 feet to 20 feet for lot A, and 15 feet for lots B, C, D, E, and F, to reduce the total side yards from 4 feet to 0 feet for lot A, and from 3 feet to 0 feet for lots B, C, D, E, and F, and to reduce the minimum side yards from 3 feet to 0 feet for lots A, B, C, D, E, and F. Columbus Citywide Planning Policies C2P2 Design Guidelines recommends the appropriateness of infill development should be measured in terms of height, width, setbacks, and lot coverage. Additionally, C2P2 recommends parking should be hidden to the greatest extent possible by locating it to the rear of a building. Staff notes the proposed site plan and building elevations are consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. Therefore, planning is supportive of the proposal as it is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. With the proposed building addition, a sidewalk will be required to be constructed along the Ray Street frontage of the site per Department of Public Service, sidewalk, and shared use path requirements, rules, and regulations. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommends approval of the request variances, voting 11-1 in favor. City Department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the proposed development aligns with C2P2 design guidelines, as well as the city's goal of providing more housing in all parts of the city. We do add that condition that a sidewalk shall be constructed along the Ray Street frontage of the site per Department of Public Services request. Chairman.
Can you say your name and whether or not you were sworn in?
Hi, I'm Ashley Sattler and I was sworn in.
Okay.
Dry Smith, sworn in.
Okay. Who's speaking?
I can start. So I'm the property owner and we have these great plans to build 6 attached single-family homes for sale, not for rent, not condos, just to create some more affordable housing in the area. I do mortgages for a living and I know we've got a shortage and I have this plot of land, so and it was voted unanimously at Greater Hilltop Area Commission. So we'd like to get started on it.
Help me understand, staff. Are we allowed to reduce the required vision clearance, or are we just allowed to let community in the vision clearance?
It would be the latter. So we could reword that to allow something within the vision clearance.
That's what I thought. Okay, so we're allowing something to be within that. And traffic and management, traffic said what was that?
Division of Traffic Management did not have any comments pertaining specifically to that. In fact, if I recall correctly, there was an email conversation between myself and Moorhead that had spoken to the fact that that would be acceptable.
Yeah.
If it was,
Resolution is the 30 by 30. It's only a residential home up with 3 intersections. We typically already either have stop signs or we can control it. Otherwise, it's kind of a part of the code. You see us generically.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application?
Sorry, I would.
You want to speak about this application?
They came to us as well.
Okay, you come up and speak.
You're not required to be here. It is.
Okay. Let me see. State your name and whether or not you were sworn in.
I was.
State your name.
My name is Kimberly Sukoshanye.
Can you hold the mic to you?
And please sign in on this.
When you're done. When you're done.
Yeah, so my name is Kimberly Sukoshanye. I was sworn in. Good afternoon. So we got the same exact notice that we have to be here, but we're just confused because it's the same property. We just don't know if they accidentally sent it to us because we're right next to them.
Where do you live? What's your?
Oh, we live on 3491 Ekin Road, but we have a property there as well.
Oh, okay.
So we just want to know, is this for us? Because we got it in our mailbox at 3491 Ekin Road. But this isn't, well, as I'm reading it now, it isn't about us, I believe.
No, it's not.
yeah, we're required to send notice to all the surrounding residents, and they're welcome to come if they want, but you guys are not required to attend. I'm so sorry that
This
you
was
came
fun.
in.
It's
Oh.
very fun.
Oh,
I like listening.
There you go, there's that.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak about the application? Okay, so
I'm sorry. Where is the neighbor's property?
you said,
He
It's next door.
what's the address of the property that you own next door?
Exactly, I'm not. If I could search it up.
So my question is, like, if they have any substantive things to say about the property, then
I believe
they
it's.
can file say that.
No, she thought she was required to be here because we got the
This is it right
notice.
here, this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, like if she has.
She thought she had to be here, period.
Period.
She thought it was installed.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
She was notified like everybody, and they thought they had to be here, not could have here.
Yeah, it's like.
That'd be cool things.
Yeah, it's like.
Can we just get it over with?
So like
No, it's fair.
240-ish South Oakley, it would be.
Yeah.
If you could just
Just
say
those
that you
down.
have, if you have nothing to say, no comments, just indicate that you have no comments.
Oh, no comments about their property.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay. No more questions from the applicant, let's go to the dungeon factors. The property in question could be only reason for trial without these variances. The variances, appear to be substantial, but they are small based on the number of units that the applicant is proposing to build. The essential character of the neighborhood is not altered. This is a residential district. The variance should not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. Don't know about the property owner's knowledge of the zoning restrictions. The predicament cannot be obviated through another method other than variance, but the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed with substantial justice done by granting variance. With the condition, you agree to the condition about the sidewalk?
Yes, we do.
We're ready to call the question with the condition.
I'll call the question with the condition.
It's for roll.
There's no sidewalk.
Mr. Jones?
Be a section of sidewalk.
I again just respectfully disagree with the chair about the assessment of value. This lot, I don't think would yield a reasonable return without the variances and the development. I concur with the remainder of the Duncan factors and vote yes and say this looks like a great project. Thank you for doing it.
Mr. Walderly?
I agree with the chair's assessment and of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chairperson Bailey?
Yes, variance granted.
Thank you.
21 Richards Road.
Twenty-one Richards Road, located on the south side of Richards Road, approximately 200 feet east of North High Street. Is zone R3 residential and part of the Glenville Area Commission. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses are primarily single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to construct a room addition. Variances are being requested to legitimize the setback on the east side of the dwelling. Planning staff note that provided building elevations are consistent with the Clintonville neighborhood planning design guidelines. Division of Traffic Management has no comment, and the Clintonville Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 5-1. Staff recommend approval of the requested variance are to legitimize existing condition. The proposed addition maintains compatibility with surrounding development and meets the Clintonville neighborhood plan design guidelines.
Can you state your name and whether or not you're sworn in?
My name is Adam Daniel, property owner. I'm not sworn in.
Okay. What about you?
Anthony Kosick, and I was sworn in.
Okay. You promise to testimony gives tonight the truth and the truth, please state I do.
I do.
Okay. Who's going to speak?
I will. This addition for the client is to accommodate more living and utility space and access to their one-car garage and currently unusable space. The house itself on a regular lot sort of reported these variance issues. We're just looking for the two variances, 322, 2.25, and 2.26, just to basically keep in the bounds of the existing structure, which is causing these variances, and the addition itself is well within the setbacks and accordance with Clintonville Area Commission in terms of fitting with the neighborhood.
Okay. Do you have any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay, Duncan's factors, property in question, go to reasonable term, as it is already doing so. The variance is not substantial. The character of the neighborhood would remain the same as the residential. The no adverse effect from delivery of government services, not sure about the ownership and knowledge of the restrictions. The predicament could not be obligated through another method of these variances. And I think that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed as substantial justice done by granting the variance. I'm ready for the question.
I'll call the question.
Mr. Waddley?
I agree with the chair's assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Mr. Jones?
I too agree with the assessment of Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chairperson Bailey?
Yes. Variance granted.
Thank you.
1524 Tiffany Court.
Tiffany Court is located at the terminus of Tiffany Court Road. And it's part of the East Area Commission, and the existing zoning is SR Suburban Residential District. The 0.59 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include a nursing home to the north, single unit dwellings to the south and east, and a Goodwill Center to the west. The applicant proposes to replace an existing 7-foot tall privacy fence along the west property line. Since a fence exceeding 6 feet in height would be considered a structure, the applicant has requested a variance to reduce the building setback along College Avenue from 25 feet to 0 feet. Columbus citywide planning policies C2P2 design guidelines recommend buffering of adjacent uses, particularly lower density residential, should use elements such as fencing. Planning notes the existing fence is being replaced in kind and will screen the adjacent roadway, consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. Therefore, planning is supportive. Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Mid-East Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variance. Staff recommends approval as the proposed fence does not pose a traffic safety issue and borders a high traffic thoroughfare rather than neighboring property. We do recommend the following conditions. That the requested building setback variance be for a fence specifically and only, so as to prevent somebody in the future from using this setback for a structure like a shed or what have you. Chair.
Okay, can you state your name, whether or not you're sworn in?
Jennifer Seal, yes, I've been sworn in.
Okay, do you have anything else you want to add to this application?
No.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about the application?
And just to confirm, we are comfortable with the condition?
Yes.
Okay, are we ready? I'll go through them for vendors. So this is a,
It's a regular, it's a regular variance.
yeah. So this is a reinstall of the fence, a replacement, replacement of the fence. The property, could yield a reasonable return without that fence. The variance is not substantial. The character of the neighborhood would not be altered. No adverse effect on the delivery of governmental services. Property owner, don't know about their knowledge of the restriction when they purchased the property. Their predicament, can only be obviated by tearing down the fence, which would be a hardship and would be against the safety concerns that they're needing with the fence. And the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed with substantial justice done by granting variance. Are we ready to call the question with the condition that the setback variance would only be for a fence?
I'll call the question with the condition.
Mr. Jones?
I again respectfully disagree with the chair about the assessment of value. I don't feel that the value would be reasonable in its return without the fence. I concur with all the remaining judgment factors and vote yes.
Mr. Wobbly?
I agree with the chair's assessment and vote yes.
Chair Palmville?
Yes, variance granted.
Thank you.
1467 Sunflower Drive.
Yes.
BZA 25-060 for 1467 Sunflower Drive is located on the northwest corner of Sunflower Drive and Climb Road. It's zoned R1 residential and in the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. The 0.2 acre site is developed with a single unit residence. Surrounding uses are primarily single unit residential with a church further to the east. The applicant proposes to replace the existing rear porch with a 22-foot by 14-foot addition and is requesting variance to reduce the building setback along Climb Road from 25 feet to 10 feet. C2P2 design guidelines note that the appropriateness of infill development should be measured in terms of height, width, setbacks, and lot coverage, and that the design and character of additions should be appropriate and based on the principal and nearby structures. As the proposal is consistent with C2P2 guidance, planning supports the proposal as presented. Division of Traffic Management has no comment. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommends approval of the request by a vote of 12-0. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance as the proposed addition will be no closer to Climb Road than the existing rear porch. The addition is similar in character and style to the rest of the house and other surrounding properties.
State your name, whether you were sworn in, please.
James Knox with Suncraft Corporation, the contractor involved, and yes, I was sworn in.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I agree with all the assessments.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay. You have any other questions? Okay, well, going off of the information that the city gave us, I think that the property could yield a reasonable return without the addition of the sunroom.
It's a room addition.
Oh, sorry.
There is an existing sunroom there now. We're converting it to part of the house.
Okay. I think the property in question would yield a reasonable return with or without the room addition. The variance is not substantial, the character of the neighborhood is not being altered, neither is the delivery of governmental services. Whether the property owner purchased this with the nod of the zoning restriction is really irrelevant with this issue. The predicament would require a variance, that's the only way they get this done. But the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. Are you ready for the questions?
Question.
We call roll.
Mr. Rowley,
I agree with the chair's assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Mr. Jones,
I too agree with the chair's assessment of the Duncan factors and vote yes. And when I had Mr. Knox, thank you for being here. We oftentimes hear people that have had home improvements say, I thought my contractor was going to take care of this, and they have not, or the project is not code compliant. So thank you for taking the steps to do that for your client.
Yes, thank you.
Chair Palmgren,
Yes. Variance granted.
Thank you.
We'll call 1106 Pole Street. Is this number two? Can you state your name, ma'am, and whether you were sworn in?
Fitumi Bako, I know I have not.
Okay, raise your right hand. You promise that the testimony you give you the truth, nothing but the truth. Please say I do.
I do.
And state your name again.
Fitumi Bako.
Victory, okay. And you are the,
I am the property manager for the builder.
okay.
Can you make sure you sign in on that sheet?
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
Is this, are you the applicant?
I am not the applicant.
I just was wondering if the same last name.
Yeah, it's my brother.
But I manage all his properties here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Different from the first guy.
It's not.
It's not different.
What's that?
You're not authorized to speak for Mr. Baco.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is a he.
Yeah.
He has to be here. Or he
Okay, I
has
was
to,
told by my architect that I could represent him because I represent him on all his other
but
properties.
do you have official documents saying that you can represent him?
I didn't bring it with me.
That's what we need.
We need that for the record. just
Okay.
to Show that you have that authority to do so.
Okay. But the architect did tell you I was coming?
Yeah,
No, he didn't? Okay, he told me last minute that I should come in.
Yeah, because he was here and
Yeah.
we would allow him to speak on behalf of Mr. Baco.
But you would not allow him to speak?
No.
Oh, so.
I mean, we would not
He's a
allow him
different
to.
architect than what was listed on the, he's not.
He was not Kristen Pettis.
Yeah, we're no longer working with him.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you-
Kelton took over.
So you need to get with the city and have them update their architect of record and get your power of attorney in with the city so that other people besides Mr. Jabato
Yeah.
come to
Okay.
this hearing and speak on his behalf.
Sure. Where do I do that? Like just to the,
Yeah.
across the street there?
No, you just get me.
Oh, okay. I'll just take your card. Or-
Sure.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just like, we have to feel it. It's,
Yes, yes.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we will table
Okay.
this case. For future.
Yeah.
We need to vote on that or we just automatic?
go ahead and vote.
Okay.
Move to table.
Second,
Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
yes.
Mr. Walbley,
Yes.
Chair Palmgren,
Yes.
Get a
Table.
man. Sorry.
Meeting is adjourned.
Line to it.
Always.
That was good.
You
I'm like, that was always something.
Shit.
No.